So I want to talk now about comparative advantage. Comparative advantage is one of the most important parts of economics in general. Okay, it is the reason why we're able to trade, and this becomes particularly important when we're talking about trading between countries. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about what comparative advantage is, and then I'm going to give you a couple examples so you understand how it plays out in the real world, and then you've been able to see graphs about free trade, and I'm going to show you arguments for free trade and arguments for protectionism, so you get kind of a big understanding about why we trade, where stuff goes, how it works, and then on the next set of videos, I'll show you how currency changes when we trade goods and services. Okay, but comparative advantage. Okay, this is our basis for why countries trade. This is the reason that countries trade, because what you can do is you use your resources as efficiently as possible. The resources given to you. So, for example, in Kentucky, we've got mountains that produce coal, right? We've got rivers that allow us to trade a long time ago. We have limestone that lets us make bourbon the way that we do. We've got fields that allow us to grow tobacco. So we've used our resources efficiently to produce these goods by lowering our opportunity costs. We're giving up less to do that. So, for example, it'd be really hard for people in Nebraska to make coal because it's flat land and there is no coal there. So they would have a really hard time digging for coal compared to people in Kentucky, right? So people, if you live on the coast, if you live in Maine, it's way easier for you to be a fisherman for crab and lobster than it would be for Kentucky. We don't have an ocean, right? We have to give a lot of resources to start looking for crab and lobster in the Kentucky River. Okay, so what happens is we essentially specializing in producing these goods, the stuff that's going to make sense for us to make. We specialize in that. We put our resources towards it, and we take the money we make from that to buy goods and services from other places that specialize in making goods and services using their resources as efficiently as possible. Okay, so I'll use these two countries that I always talk about because it's funny, but it's also true. Let's say there are two countries. Okay, let's say you have Canada and you have Vietnam. Okay, Vietnam is a country that's in a very, very warm climate. It's tropical, lots of rain, tons of humidity. Canada does not have tons of rain and humidity like Vietnam does. Okay, so let's say there are two goods. Let's say there is rice and ice. And these two countries have to choose which good they want to specialize in. Well, clearly, it will be easier for Canada to specialize in making ice because they have access to very cold temperatures. There's lots of water around, so they can make ice really easily, right? But to make rice, you need very warm, very humid, very damp climate, which Canada does not have. So if they wanted to make rice, they would have to spend lots of money to make big buildings and change lots of areas in order to make rice. Vietnam already has that climate, and they make lots of rice because they can specialize in that because they don't have to give up that many resources to make rice. It's a natural process for them based on their geography. So if Canada wants rice and if Vietnam wants ice, it makes a lot more sense, and it's the basis for comparative advantage. For Vietnam is going to make rice, Canada is going to make ice, and if Canada wants some rice, well, then they'll buy it from Vietnam. If Vietnam wants some ice, they'll buy it from Canada. So Canada will specialize in making what they're good in, and Vietnam will specialize in making what comes easiest to them. Same thing with like Germany is really good at making cars, right? America is good at making cars. We have a great educational system. It produces lots of engineers, so we can produce modern technology like that, and then we don't tend to make things like T-shirts and stuff because having a more educated citizenry, then we can put our resources towards making things that are more inclined to be innovated or invented with our economy and with our educational system, where places where are poorer, they have cheaper labor and they can produce those. And so if they want to buy goods and services from America, they will produce these consumer goods like T-shirts and socks and stuff, or iPhones, and they'll sell them, and the money they make, they'll buy goods and services from America, where in the stuff that we specialize in. So that's how comparative advantage works, and it's literally the basis for why countries are able to trade, because you do what you're best at, right? If you're, for example, look at football. If you are 6'7" and you weigh 395 pounds, you probably aren't going to be a wide receiver, right? You probably are going to be a lineman, because you will be more effective as a lineman. If you are 5'7" and you weigh 127 pounds, you're probably not going to be an offensive tackle, because you'll get thrown around. So it's more likely you're going to do and be efficient at what your body is going to allow you to be efficient, right? If you run a 4.4 40, being a lineman stupid. Being a wide receiver makes a lot of sense, right? If you are a 7-footer in high school, right, you just being a point guard and never shooting the ball or going down low doesn't make any sense, right? So you go where it makes sense, okay? And that's the whole point of comparative advantage, and it's the basis for our trade.